Good morning students, welcome back to history lecture. Today we are going to start with political science chapter number 3, India's defense system. Every country they need to protect their citizens, and to protect the citizens they need the help of the army, the navy, the air force. Then the army, the navy, air force, the police, other paramilitary forces, they are very important and together they are making the defense system. So it is very much important for country to make the strong army, to make the strong navy, or to make the strong force, so they will protect the country from external threat. So the defense system is very important. So today we are going to study about India's defense system. Now we are going to do the revise. We have now understand the primary national interest of a country includes defense from foreign aggressions, internal unrest and keeping the borders safe. For this, every nation creates a defense system at national level. So every nation they have a defense system at national level so they can keep safe their borders and they can protect themselves and their country from foreign aggressions or the foreign attacks we can say. For this, every nation they create a defense system at national level. India has also created such system. In this chapter, we are going to understand its nature and study the challenges it faces. So let's begin. First, we are going to study what is national security. The international system is made up of sovereign nations. Sovereign means independent nation. So international system is made up of independent nations. Even if they cooperate with each other, sometimes there are conflicts between the sovereign nation. Even different nation they cooperate with each other. Then also there are conflicts between this independent nation or the sovereign nations. There are disputes between nations over the boundaries. We have the example of India and Pakistan. So there are some disputes between India and Pakistan over the boundaries. Or sometimes conflict emerge between them over water sharing. Even because of water sharing also, the disputes can occur between two nations. See, there are many rivers which are flowing from two countries. For example, India and Pakistan. In India and Pakistan, we have a Indus River, which is originated from Tibet. Okay, the originated this river in Tibet. Today, Tibet is in China. So that rivers flows from India, and then it goes to the Karachi, and then it meets to the Arabian Sea. So if the river is sharing from two countries, then definitely there will be some water issues. Some other reason for conflict could be not following the terms of international treaties. Treaties means agreement. If any country, if they are not following the treaties or the agreement, then there could be the conflicts. Then constantly competing against each other. If any country, if any two countries, they are constantly competing with each other, there is a competition between those two countries, then definitely the dispute can arise between those two countries. And influx of refugees from neighboring countries. Influx means large numbers. If large numbers of refugees are coming from the neighboring country, then there can be the chances of disputes. For this, we have the example of India and Bangladesh. You must be knowing that the current Bangladesh, so that was the part of Pakistan in the year 1971. It is called as a East Pakistan, and the current Pakistan is called as a West Pakistan. So the West Pakistan started harassing and torturing the people of East Pakistan. We are talking about before 1971. And during that time, many people from Bangladesh, they came to India as they want to protect themselves. So they came to India around 1 or 2 crores. 1 or 2 crores people they came to India. So refugees came to India, and if refugees are going to come, ultimately the population of India's will grow. And we cannot say in form of refugees terrorists can also come, and ultimately it will affect the India's security. So to secure India and to help Bangladesh, India fought war with Pakistan in the year 1971, and within a 13 days India won the war, and it gave freedom to the Bangladesh, and a new country was established. So these are the reasons because of that there can be the dispute between the two countries. The first one is, second one is water sharing, third one is not following the terms or the agreement or the treaty, fourth one is constantly competing with each other, and the fifth one is influx of refugees from neighboring countries, etc. Whenever such conflict of interest arise between nations, it is sought to be resolved by compromises and discussions. But when such efforts are not enough to resolve the conflict, a nation may even think of war. So, whatever disputes we have between two nations, that should be resolved by compromises and discussion. We have to do the discussion and we try to find out or we try to sort out the problems. But when such efforts are not enough, then they can think of a war. As I have given you the example of India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. After doing the discussion, the problem was not sought out. So that is why ultimately the India declared a war against the Pakistan, and the India won that war, and ultimately India made the Bangladesh liberate, or India gave freedom to Bangladesh from Pakistan. So at last, what is the thing which we have, that we have to do the war? If the discussion is not taking the positive result, then ultimately they have to fight a war. When a nation attacks another and challenges the sovereignty of the latter, it endangers the security of the nation. Such challenges are created due to the military power of aggressive nations. Suppose one country is attacking the other, then the independence of that country is in danger. So it will challenge on sovereignty of that country, and it will also attack on security of that country. And who can attack? The one who is having a powerful military, like USA. USA is the strongest country, and why it is? Because of economy and military, because they are spending lots of money on military compared to other countries, and so that is why USA is a powerful. If the powerful or aggressive country, or the one who is strong in a military, if they are going to attack to any nation, then the security of that nation will be in a danger. In any situation, a nation's first duty and responsibility is to keep the security system always well prepared and ready. This is called as a national security. If anyone is going to ask what is the first duty of the government, the first duty of the government is to protect its citizen. And how they are going to protect its citizen? By keeping its security system well prepared and ready. And for that, it should have new updated equipments and the trained soldiers. And if when we are going to have, then only we can protect our nation. So if any external country, if they are going to attack our country, then our country should be ready to face them and to protect our citizens. So it is called as a national security. National security means protecting our country from external attacks. Now next we are going to study ways to safeguard national security. What are the different ways are there to safeguard our national security, that we are going to see now. First is, national security is closely connected with, because national security is more likely to be endangered by nations who are geographically closer. A nation must assess the threat to its geographical boundaries and the source of that threat. So the first thing is geography. Means we have more threat from geographical closer nations. If we are going to take example of our India, then Pakistan and China are very close to India. So India is having threat or danger from this both the countries, as they are always having a dispute with each other on boundaries. Now we have a current example, like we are having a dispute boundaries. Okay, so there is a warlike situation between China and India, that you all know what is going on right now in our country. So, a nation must assess the threat to its geographical boundaries and the source of that threat. So, it is the duty of the government or the defense system to assess means to guess the threat to its geographical boundaries, means from where we are having the threat to our country or the geographical boundary. That threat or that danger they have to guess, and the source of that threat means source means from where we having the exact threat that we have to find out, and according to that they have to strengthen the geographical boundaries. That is the first way. For example, also Nepal is also a neighboring country, but from Nepal we are not having any threat. So the other neighboring countries like China or Pakistan, from that countries we are always having a threat or danger. So from their boundaries we have to strengthen our military forces or a defense system by guessing the danger, and that is the first way of safeguarding our national security. Now we are going to see the second way of safeguard our national security. In order to keep the threat at bay, the nation has to increase its military might. The nation has to use modern technology to predict the threat, to build weapon system and modernize and update the defense force. So if we want to secure our country, then we have to increase our military might. Military might means military power. And also the nation has to use the modern technology to predict the threat. Predict means say something about the future. Tell them something about the future. That is called as a predict. Or in Hindi we call it as a bhavishyavani karna. Okay. So there should be the proper technology that will predict the threat. To build weapon system, so we have to develop the modern weapons and we have to update the defense force. Update means the proper gun system should be there, then security system should be good and the updated, and the intelligence department should be alert, they should be good. So if all those things are going to develop, then the country is also going to become a developed, the country is also going to become a strong, and the military force of that country is also going to become a strong, and they can stop any external attack. Now we are going to see the third way of safeguarding the national security. Resolving conflict by taking recourse to war in order to safeguard national security brings internal peace into danger. Hence, same nations try to get the support of other nation to manage the threat to their national security. So, if we are fighting any war with any country, then the of that country is also comes in danger. Hence, there are some countries they try to get support from other nation to manage the threat to their national security. So, there are many countries they are taking the help of other countries to manage the national security or to manage the threat to their national security. For example, if you are going to take the example of Pakistan, if India is going to challenge the Pakistan, Pakistan will definitely take the help of someone, okay, and with that help they can manage to their national security. So there are many countries in the wartime they always taking the support from the strong countries to manage the threat to their national security. So in short, all the countries they are taking the help of other countries to manage the threat to their national security. So these are the ways to safeguard the national security of our nation. Now next is, do you agree? Nations enter into armed races with others in an effort to increase their military might. Armed race leads to further increase the sense of insecurity. This sense of insecurity further increases the threats to national security. In order to avoid these dangers, we need arm control, not an arm races. What do you think? Are you agree with this? Because if we are going to enter into the arm race with other nations, then efforts will be to increase the military might or the military power. But arm race leads to the further increase the sense of insecurity. Because of the arm race, there will be insecurity. and the sense of insecurity further increases to threat to national security. So, in order to avoid all those things, what do you think? The arm race, we have to do the arm race or we have to control the arms? And I hope all I agree with, we have to control the arm. Now, this is the activity which is given. You are going to read this paragraph and you are going to find out the answer for the same. Okay, so read the following passage and answer the question that follow. That is your activity. So you are going to do that. Now next we are going to study India's security system. India's security system includes the army, the navy and the air force, the three forces that defend the country. So these are the three forces of India which defend the country or which protects our country. In that, first we are going to study about Indian Army. The responsibility of protecting the geographical boundaries is on the army. So India is having a boundary with the Pakistan, India is having a boundary with China, Nepal. So it is a work of the Indian Army to protect the boundaries of India. The Indian Army is very big. It is the world's seventh largest army. So in the world, our army is the seventh largest in the world. Its chief of army is known as a general, and the chief of the Indian army is known as a general. General Manoj Mukund Naravne is the current general of our Indian army. The next is Indian Navy. The Navy protects the coastline. Coastline means the sea area, we can say, or the sea lines. Okay, so the Navy protects the coastlines. So the chief of the Navy is known as Admiral, and the current Admiral of Indian Navy is Admiral Karambir Singh. Now next is Indian Air Force. The Air Force is in charge of protecting India's airspace. So if the attack is happening from the space, okay, so it is the responsibility or the charge is given to the Air Force, so they will protect us. The chief of the Air Force is known as Air Chief Marshal, and the current Air Chief Marshal of Indian Air Force is Air Chief Marshal Rakesh Kumar Singh. So first we talk about the Indian Army, and the chief of the Indian Army is known as the General. Then the second we talk about the, and the chief of the Indian Navy is known as Admiral. Then third we talk about the Indian Air Force, and the chief of Indian Air Force is known as Chief Marshal. These three chiefs are appointed by the president. So who appoint those three chiefs? President appoints the chiefs. Now very important, the Minister of Defense controls all three forces. So the Minister of Defense control all the three defense. Now who is the Minister of Defense? Current Minister of Defense? The current Minister of Defense is Rajnath Singh, and he controls all those three forces. Three chiefs, Army, Navy and Air Force are appointed by the President, and the three chief of Army, Navy and the Air Force are appointed by the President, and that we have already seen. The President of India is the Supreme Commander of the Defence Force. So who is the Supreme Commander of Defence Force? The President of India. The Defence Force cannot take any decision about war or peace without the consent of the President. So without the consent or the approval of the President, the Defence Force, that is Army, Navy or the Air Force, they cannot decide the war, or they cannot stop the war, or they cannot decide about the peace. So the President approval is very important. President consent is very important. Without the President consent or the approval, they cannot start the war, or they cannot stop the war, or they cannot go for a peace. So ultimately all the decisions are in hands of the presidents or the government use in power. So whichever the government is there, the president has to discuss with the government, and the president has to listen the government. So the government is having a control over the president or the army. because the president represents the civil power. Civil power means people of India. So the president is representing the people of India. In a democracy, civil leadership is considered superior to military leadership. So in a democracy, civil leadership means the minister which are appointed by the people are considered superior to the military leadership. So the military's leadership is under the control of the civil leadership. So we have army generals or the chief marshals. So they report to the ministers and they are reporting to the defense minister or the president. So compared to this, the civil leaders are superior to the military leadership. Many measures are taken so that all three defense forces in India's security system are adequately modernized. So they have taken many measures. So all the three defense forces of India, they will modernize, or we can say develop. For this, some research institutions have been set up, and because of that they have set up the research institutions, so they can do the research and they can develop the new weapons and the equipments, like they can make a new weapons, new machine guns, new aircrafts or submarines or fighter planes, etc. So if the army, navy and air force are going to remain modern, it will secure or it will protect our country. So that is why they have taken many measures. Next is some research institutions have been set up. So there are some research institutions that have been set up to do the research in the following fields. You must have heard about the Agni missile or the Prithvi missile. So these are the research of these institutions. Example, DRDO, that is Defense Research and Development Organizations, which they have established to do the research. Many training institutions have also been set up in our country to train the personnel of all ranks of our defense force so that they can perform their tasks effectively. So there are many training institutions they have set up to train the three forces so they can work effectively, they can perform effectively, and that is why many institutions have been set up to train those defense forces. For example, the National Defense Academy NDA at Pune and the National Defense College NDC at Delhi, etc. So these are the defense academies or training institutes which have been set up in our country to train the defense forces. So they are like a college. So every person, those who are going to join the army, navy or air force, they have to take the courses from these colleges. Once they are going to pass out, then they will be appointed in the army, navy and air forces. So today in this lecture we studied about what is national security, then ways to safeguard our national security and India's security system. Next we will continue in the next chapter. Thank you.